Hello. I was a depressed man ready to commit suicide, but had the good fortune to discover a path to a new life. This channel is about what I learned that I hope can help you discover what I did much quicker and much easier than I did. On Father's Day 2024, I was literally going to kill myself.
These
I was
be
fortunate to find a way from that desperate situation to a year later meeting getting engaged to the most wonderful lady I have ever met. So stick around and we're going to go through in depth the story of Rebirth Road. Okay. So July 1st, 2023, I separated from my ex of 18 years. By Western standards, I was definitely not a good catch when my ex decided that it was time to go. I didn't really meet the standards for a good Western husband. I was on disability due to depression. I was playing video games a lot and smoking weed. Here in Canada, totally legal. It was, but not the best mate. Really? We'll examine that as we go through this series of videos. I was a very staunch believer in feminism and equality of men and women. I was in the military, so I also have a sense of duty and purpose and sacrificing for my wife, children, and grandchildren. However, all of that kind of came to a screeching halt Father's Day 2024. At that point, I was depressed. I was breaking down every day, 10, 12 times, completely in the fetal position, crying. I was having a hard time processing many different emotional scars, including the death of my son when he was 35, the breakup of my relationship, and processing the difficult emotions that came from many of my other past relationships as well. And then on the Father's Day at midnight, there's a video I'll show here that had me on streaming on Twitch. And I realized just after midnight, I had not received a single solitary Happy Father's Day wish from 7 grandchildren or my 4 potential children or their spouses. That really made me rethink and reevaluate a few things. So I was at a pretty low point and decided that I had a doctor's appointment the following day. So I went to my family physician, crying, breaking down, and my family physician's whole thing was, oh, you need to go back to work. I mean, this guy's a little green and my out of school, really didn't have much life experience, so
just a moment ago.
He certainly didn't understand that going back to work would be more of a problem than it solved. Not listening. Anyway, so I realized I wasn't getting any help, and I was in a very desperate situation, so I decided to kill myself. I won't go into the plan because let's just say it would be very effective, but I'm not about to give out ways to kill yourself. So I'm not going to mention that. Anyway, so while I was in the process, I kept thinking of the words from my mother in my head saying, and this too shall pass, and this too shall pass. So my ex actually worked at a suicide prevention line. So I knew about them. So I decided to call, and they quickly realized, yep, this isn't a good situation. So they sent an army of people to my apartment, which ended in me going to a hospital and checking in for a week, which helped. But what it mainly did was it got me into a program called the STAT program here in our city at a hospital, which is basically a daily program for 5 weeks where you go and learn mood altering skills so that you can do things like process strong emotion or learn how you're valuable just as a person. So went through that program and was very enlightened, learning essentially all kinds of different skills about essentially how my ex had manipulated me. So I finished the program and started to reevaluate my life at that point. My ex was still running all the money, and I realized just how much more than she was entitled to I was paying her. So, in the process of reevaluating that and our settlement agreement, he suddenly came out with the lie that I had cheated. This betrayed everything that I had thought our relationship was based on, our friendship. And going back to all of that sacrifice for the fairer sex, that just collapsed. So she then moved to something that's not my problem because she's never going to say sorry or ever change her mind, even though it's a lie. I have been faithful to her for, well, until then. Until then. That's it. Done. So then, after that, I started wondering, okay, so I had been looking at the work of several psychologists and discovered the concept of hypergamy. Hypergamy is the concept that women always look to marry. I quickly realized that my financial situation was that I was going to lose half of anything that I had, and I was going to wind up working until I was 70 to barely scrape by to pay all my bills. And I was going to be not eating great, not doing much, just surviving. So I realized that what I needed to do was to find some place where I could change my economic outlook. So I began exploring different parts of the world and found a few where my Canadian dollar went further than does here. And then I started looking at the different areas of the world and discovered that Asian women tended to be slim, which is important if they want someone to be healthy and able to be a partner. for any length of time. If they're healthy, then that's a big bonus. Happy, healthy. The other thing that I noticed about Asian women was they're much more feminine than Western women. They are conservative, so they're not trying to flaunt it and get a bunch of guys. No, they're just flaunting it for their husbands. So funny and happy, respectful, and yes, respectful. The no entitlement, just happy to talk and be there. So quite a different attitude than Western women. So decided that for financial and economics, and the next thing was looking at parts of the world where English was more accepted because I need to be able to start a relationship. And if they can understand me, that's even better. And then also looking at amenities in the country, making sure that we can get some Western amenities. And what I decided on was the area that looked to me to be about the best from those criteria were the Philippines. So I started looking into Philippine ladies and decided to try out some websites and ran into one website where there was lots of scammers texting for things like money for travel visas, but they have special ways, cousins or whatever, that can get them faster. So just watch out for those, as well as women, uh, that single woman with a bunch of men answering and talking for them. Ran into that. You can tell by how many accounts they have. So after running through a bunch of scammers, question I kept getting asked was, because I was on as an atheist, I realized that the question of faith was a bigger question. And I started examining my own beliefs and realized that I don't really have a problem with my roots of Catholicism. The only issue I had was the if God actually answered prayers. So I decided the videos that I was seeing was telling me that the site to go to was a site called Christian Filipina. I decided to take a look at Christian Filipino. And while I was looking, a particular profile jumped out at me. Her name was Cheryl, and there was something about the profile, the pictures. It was just the grace that this lady had. And I really felt like this lady just a little bit out of my league. So I prayed to God and I said, Lord, this lady is really something special. If this lady could love me, I would know you answer prayer. So please, God, if you can find a way for this lady to love me, then please do that. It took a couple days because I had to get my Christian Filipina account before I could answer or talk to her. After my account was approved and paid for, I messaged Cheryl and she responded. After chatting for a day, she said, I love you. And I was floored. So I stopped and paused and replied, "That seems a little early." And Cheryl was very apologetic and shy. But in my head, I'm going, okay, either this is God answering prayer or this is a scammer. She had posted a picture in chat with her sister-in-law and her niece sitting around at the phone, and I realized I was being interviewed by all of them, which made me feel a little insecure, but it was okay. Then I immediately wanted to know, is she real? So we started voice chatting immediately. And basically, we chatted and have been chatting every day for 24 hours a day. Here she is, right here, watching me make a video. She has been with me 24 hours a day ever since. After 1 week, I decided this lady is the lady. God is good, answers prayer. And I decided 7 days after to buy an engagement ring and find a way to marry this special lady. After I pressed the button to order the ring, instantly on my phone came two dings. Ding, ding. The first ding was a message on Instagram to follow my dead son's Instagram account that I had no idea, never saw before. Just ding, there it was. And then the second message, ding, same message again. So Instagram sent me two messages from my dead son's Instagram account to follow him. That resonated at that moment in time as being my son saying, yes, you're on the right path. So after that, praying to God, tried to find a way to get to the Philippines to see Cheryl. And that happened. And Cheryl and I got to spend a month together. And I proposed to Cheryl on her birthday of June 22nd, 2025. And you can see here we've got some videos that we made while we're dancing in our little room that we had in Cagayan de Oro, as well as us dancing on the boulevard. So, if you're depressed, you're a man, we'll be creating content to help you have a happy, joyful life. Hey, thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you again. Have a good one. Ciao.